Welcome to The Perfect Note. I'm your host, Chum D. Bradley J. Carter. It's Tuesday, August 25th, 2015, here in Asheville, North Carolina. We've got an awesome show for you today. We've got Marcus King from Greenville, South Carolina on the show today, and he is a young, up-and-coming, I wouldn't even say he's up-and-coming. I'd say he's kind of here already. He's a young guitar player who fronts his own band called the Marcus King Band. And if you find yourself wondering what happened to all the great Southern rock bands, why there are no new amazing Southern rock bands, then you're in luck, because Marcus King Band fulfills that need. They are an amazing rock and roll band that you should definitely check out. You'll get to hear their music during the show today. But we have some sad news to report. The death of Billy Constable has moved the Asheville music community here in Western North Carolina. And if you don't know who Billy Constable is, Billy Constable was a multi-instrumentalist and bluegrass musician based here in Western North Carolina, and he has been one of the best. Well, there's so many things that I could say about Billy, but I'm just going to sum it up for you. He is one of the best bluegrass musicians I've ever met personally. He was a super top-notch flat picker as well as a virtuoso banjo player. And in the banjo department, he was second to none when it comes to bluegrass. And he could play mandolin really well. He could play fiddle. He basically could do anything bluegrass and do it really well. And his loss to brain cancer this week has been felt around the Asheville music community. And I feel very fortunate that I got to meet and play a lot of music with Billy, as well as play some gigs with Billy in the 3 years I've been here in Asheville. And I have so many stories that I could tell about Billy, but I'm going to keep it really short today. I do have one story that I'm going to tell, though. I remember being at a jam session, and we were playing Lonesome Moonlight Waltz, which is this beautiful Bill Monroe fiddle tune. And I was taking a break on it, and the turnaround goes from a C major to an A7. And if you're not a music geek, that means nothing to you. But instead of playing the A7, I played a C sharp diminished, little substitution that worked really well. And Billy heard that and liked it, and I'll never forget that he gave me a compliment afterward. And it meant everything to me because Billy was so good, and I have so much respect for Billy. If you go back and listen to the very first Perfect Note, Billy's name is mentioned right away from me and John Looney, so you can go back and listen to that if you're curious. But yeah, Billy Constable was one of the greats. There is no doubt about it, and he will most certainly be remembered as a legend in the bluegrass world. So rest in peace, Billy Constable. Today on the show, we have Marcus King from Greenville, South Carolina. As I mentioned earlier, Marcus is a phenomenal young guitar player and singer. And at the young age of 19, he is already playing some of the best rock and roll music I've heard in a long time. And when I heard it, I was like blown away. I had to figure out, I just decided I wanted to know how this kid got so good at a young age. So that was kind of motivated me to interview him for the podcast. So I'm not going to give it all away here in the intro. I'm going to just get right to it. So without further ado, your new favorite electric guitar player, Marcus King.
Did you leave me here the day you left me?
Rocky. We're hanging out, trying out amps and whatever.
Yeah, Rocky and Steven up there.
Yeah, and Rocky was like, "Oh man, you guys got to hear this kid from Greenville." And you hear that shit all the time.
Yeah.
It's like kids who can play guitar or whatever. And it's like, yeah. I mean, I've heard that. I've mostly played bluegrass, so I'm used to seeing like little bitty kids who can like rip the banjo.
Sure.
And so I was kind of like skeptical. Like, yeah, whatever. Okay. So he pulls up the video, and he pulls up your band's like website video or whatever. And it quickly dawned on us, like, yeah, this is not what I was expecting. And you guys were just crushing it. It was phenomenal music. It was not like music made by like a little kid or anything. And how old are you?
I'm 19 today.
19, yeah. So you're still technically in your teens, barely.
Yeah.
But this was not child music. This was
not
like
child's play.
for real rock and roll music, and I was like, holy shit. And so I was immediately a fan. Both me and my buddy were. And I saw you guys play at the Gray Eagle, and it was like, damn. I mean, the band
That was a fun show.
Yeah, the band was tight, man.
Yeah,
You guys got it going on.
Yeah, we love Asheville, man. Every time we go up there, we're always really welcomed with really open arms, like at the ISIS Theater or over at the Gray Eagle or Pisgah Brewing Company. Every time we go up there, man, everybody's really sweet to us and always have a good time up in Asheville.
Yeah, Asheville has got a great music scene. We need more rock and roll, which I'm trying to do something about. I'm trying to form a rock band. Well, I've formed one. I'm trying to get it to practice.
That's you can form a rock band. You just gotta get them all together enough to practice.
Yeah, that's pretty much the problem. We're pretty good, but we got a lot of work to do, especially after seeing your band. Like, for real.
What's y'all's name?
The name of the band is called Max Gross Weight.
Cool.
Yeah, I saw you guys, and I was like, yeah, we're not nearly this good. These guys are badass.
Nah, man, we're nothing special, man. We just love what we do, and just keeps us from flipping burgers, and it's really just a musical representation of my emotions, and I think all the other cats feel the same way when they play, but that's where it is for me. That's where I'm coming from with it. And I don't think there's good players or bad players. I just think there's people that play with their heart and people that don't.
Right. Well, you're better than average, I would say. You're
well,
being very modest about this right now, but I want to unravel some of the story, because it was like, how in the world does somebody get so good at guitar at the age of 19? So, how did you get started with music?
See, my grandfather and both my uncles and my dad and my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather played fiddle, and my grandfather played fiddle and guitar.
Old-time fiddle?
Old-time, yeah. Played fiddle, and my uncle played bass, and my other uncle plays guitar. And my father is a really renowned guitarist in the area,
Oh, he is.
And
Marvin.
Yeah, Marv.
A blues player?
Yeah, blues player. A lot of country picking, and
chicken picking?
Yeah, so he did when I was little, they never really forced me into any kind of music. There was always a guitar laying around that I could bang on.
It was always around, obviously.
Yeah, I was always surrounded by it. I was never forced into it, but always supported. So that was always really helpful growing up. And, I was just kind of an outcast at school because I never really had any good buddies at school or anything, because I just wanted to come home and play,
So, like, right from the beginning, you're young, you're a kid. Like, how old are we talking? Like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
Yeah, we're talking like 4 or 5, I guess, I used to have like a little junior Les Paul that I would play. And when I turned 7, I got my first full-scale guitar.
What was that?
That was a Squire Strat.
Hell yeah.
I still have it, but I did a little surgery on it and put a Fernandez neck on it. It's cool, man. I can't get into the Strat thing though, but
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's my first guitar. I can't let it go.
What was the amp you were playing through?
I think at that point I was playing through a PV Bandit.
I don't know that amp, but
Yeah,
I can imagine. I can imagine what it sounded like.
It's a good sounding amp, man. I like them.
Yeah, I mean, as a 7-year-old, it was probably the shit.
Well, at that point, my dad, because he gave me that Fender Super that I play through now.
This is handed down.
That one's handed down, yeah. So he was playing through that. So
for the audience listening out there in the interwebs, I'm looking at a pair of Fender Super Reverbs, which are in absolute mint condition, but one of which is a true vintage amp.
Yeah, the one on the left there is a 65, and the one on the right I actually got over at with Rocky and Steven at the Guitar Trader.
I thought I recognized it. I probably played through that amp at one point.
They called me and they were like, "Hey, man, we know
good.
you're looking for a second Super," and I was looking for a reissue because I'm always skeptical about my older gear that I bring out. So I was looking for a reissue that I could just bring out whenever I'm just going to do like a quick gig with somebody, go sit in.
Well, when I saw you were playing through both.
Yeah, I run them both stereo. I try to do like the wet dry thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm really into Jimmy Herring's tone, and he does the wet dry.
Yeah.
Signal, and
I've never looked at his rig, but he's amazing.
Oh man, and just the sweetest guy too, and just phenomenal player.
Well, before we get too sidetracked, all right. So you're 5, 6, 7. You're a little kid. You got a Squire Strat. Your dad's teaching you blues licks, or how are you learning to play guitar?
Well, my dad, is when he's working and then he comes home, he shows me all the old blues stuff, Freddie King, Albert King, B.B. King, all that stuff. He teaches me all this blues stuff. And a lot of Southern rock, Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner.
You're getting all this at the same time.
Yeah, man. And but when he's at work, my grandfather's watching me, and that's who I spent most of my childhood years with. Was just hanging out with my grandma and my grandpa.
What were their names?
My grandmother, we call her Oma, which is German for grandmother.
Oma?
Because she's from Munich, Germany. But her name's Gertrude, and my grandfather's name is Bill King. And so we'd sit around, and, in my earlier days, I started off on drums, actually. So he was like, well, if you're going to play drums, boy, we're going to get you on that train beat real quick. So in this room, actually, here, this is the house I grew up in, so I'd be practicing drums, and he'd just...
In this room?
This room here, yeah. So he'd just play, like, some Chet Atkins stuff, and just...
You just grooved to the Chet Atkins finger picking.
Well, he'd be, he'd
like just on a snare and brushes?
Well, just sticks, man, and kick, and then he'd crack the whip, and then... But,
so he would make sure you were keeping the groove straight.
Yeah, I think that really has attributed a lot to my playing as far as starting off on drums and getting a good ear for rhythm, I think. But
yeah, man. And this was very young again.
Yeah, but, guitar was always my first love.
Yeah. So you're doing both of those things at the same time.
Yeah, man. That's pretty much how I spent my day.
It sounds like you wanted every spare second to be music.
Yeah, man. That's just that's where my heart was, and it wasn't like a abnormal thing to me at the time. Everybody else was like,
I don't think it's abnormal. I think it's awesome. I mean, I had a musical upbringing, but I rejected it, and I wish that I hadn't. I mean, I took piano lessons, and my mom, the day that I quit, was like, "You're going to regret this." I was like, "No, I'm not," but I do, of course. Man. But, I don't know. I just had too much energy. I couldn't sit still and practice. It was my problem.
Yeah, I've always seen it go down because my dad's always taught guitar lessons. And, you see kids, take lessons that are forced into it. And when you're forced into something... and
I was kind of forced a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, our whole thing is to let people know that music is an escape, and it's something that you can do to kind of release any of your
You have a really
troubles.
awesome outlook on music. I mean, I would totally agree. That's what it is.
Well, it's a grieving process, and it's also just like, I'm so happy, you know, any emotion that you're feeling, you can represent it through that. I think, but not to get off track again. Sorry, I'm kind of dwindling.
No,
off
that's
of the
cool.
subject.
No, that's good. That's an awesome observation, and I would totally agree. So, so is that your primary young influence? All the Three Kings, and then Southern rock.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that shows up in your band.
I listened to a lot of Janis Joplin growing up. I was a really big Janis Joplin fan. Still am. And you know, Government Mule, Derek Trucks band. So all that growing up, Leonard Skinner was really like that. Leonard Skinner album, Second Helping, was really the first album that I sat down with and like just learned the whole thing, you know, because I was just so jazzed about it and just so excited.
Like all the different parts.
Yeah, man, it was so cool, and I was really into that. And then when I got to be a little older, I went to the Fine Arts Center. That's where I studied with Steve Watson.
Okay.
He was my guitar instructor over there, and he was a L.A. session cat for a number of years. He played with Dolly Parton for a long time, and just a phenomenal jazz player. And, you know, what I really dug about his class was I did private lessons and studied with him at Fine Arts Center, jazz performance and jazz theory for 2 years.
How old were you at this point?
I think I was like a sophomore in high school.
Okay. You're probably obviously get pretty good if you're playing jazz.
Well,
Not that blues is easy, but it's just a little bit more harmonically complex or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the jazz theory was basically all the theory just kind of took what I was already doing and made everything applicable to what I was already doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What kind of jazz guitar was he focusing on?
Well, see, we were looking more at like horn players.
Oh, yeah.
And that really kind of changed my whole perspective on the way of looking at playing the guitar.
Right.
Because I've always gotten a lot of influence from guitar players, but, you know, Warren Haynes, he takes what singers do and tries to apply that to guitar, and I kind of had the same kind of thinking as far as like horn players and organ players. I was really into jazz organ players like Jimmy Smith and Dr. Lonnie Smith and folks like that, John Medeski. So, you know, trying to emulate those sounds on guitar, that gives for a little bit of, you know,
it's a different
shedding
sound.
time. Yeah, and it's just, but Steve knew the way that I grew up learning, and, you know, he was teaching me how to read music and stuff, and really knew how to teach me in a way to where I could understand it.
Man, that's awesome that you had such a good teacher. That's fantastic.
Like, between him and my father, man, and, you know, my grandfather.
You had several.
Yeah, man.
Quite often, it sounds like.
Yeah, I was there every day. It was a program that I went to every day it's in the same parking lot as Wade Hampton High School around here, Fine Arts Center. And there it was such a beautiful experience because, you know, when you see movies and shit, just like you see a high school scene and like everybody's so stoked to be there and like really happy with their teachers and stuff, and that's just so inaccurate and so just like it's hogwash, man. So, and like that's how I was at my high school. It was like I was very introverted and like didn't really care for any of the scenes that were going on around me, you know, and mainly slept a lot got in trouble a lot for sleeping because I never stirred up mischief or anything, but I was playing late, so I'd always get in trouble for sleeping and stuff. So
were you gigging already?
Yeah, I was gigging a good bit. So
when did you start gigging?
I guess I was about 8, and I started playing with my dad's group when I was about 11 full time. I was playing with them.
That's amazing, dude.
It was fun, man. I mean, for me, it was just a dream.
That's amazing. You're gigging by 11, like out late with your dad's band.
Yeah, man, and so it caused for some rough mornings, I'd say, and
yeah, I bet.
So high school was pretty tough, but you know, I got through it. The only thing that kept me going through the whole thing was Fine Arts Center, because I knew that at 11:30
you could go there.
I'd go hop in my car and go to the Fine Arts Center, and everybody there, it was kind of like the understanding that it's a privilege to be there, you know, and it's like, you know, you're getting out of school half day early to come here and study something that you really love and enjoy and like you want to make a career out of, and everybody was so happy to be there, and it was just such a genuine vibe that was over there.
Right. It sounds like you're already thinking like, man, music is my path. This is what I got to do.
Yeah, I remember in 6th grade, it was I guess it was more I mean, people gain motivation through different ways, you know, but I was always motivated by scrutiny and, like, people just kind of saying that it's a half-wit's dream and shit like that. So when I was in 6th grade, I remember the teacher, I forget her name, but I remember it vividly. She's come to see us play since then, which was funny. But because I think it was kind of like accidental that she happened to stumble upon us playing somewhere in town. And I was in 6th grade, and we were having to take this like career test, and it told me that I was supposed to be a small set director, which is basically like the guy that goes in and like the guy that goes in and moves the mannequins in the way that he wants them. I was like, what is this shit? I don't want to do this. I was like, I want to play music. And she was like, well, you have to be good to play music.
Oh, man.
And I was just like, what? That was so mean.
That lit a fire under your ass, I'm sure.
Yeah, man, but...
Wow. Yeah. Why do most teachers suck? Why? I mean, you know, like, I can think of like 3 teachers that I had ever that were any good.
Man, I get the same, analysis from everybody's like, man, I can think of like 3 or 4 teachers.
Maybe because they get paid shit. I don't know why.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Teachers, if you're listening out there, hopefully you're not one of these people who would be mean to a kid.
Right.
But that's just wrong. I mean, that's just wrong.
Yeah, like middle school and high school, I was... I was playing a lot, and
were you gigging every weekend?
Yeah,
high school,
just about it.
Mostly around Greenville
during the weekdays. Mostly, yeah. Staying regional, not going too far. Maybe some North Carolina plays, but I remember getting paddled in 7th grade. That kind of turned my nose up at the whole like educational system.
Why did you get paddled?
Oh man, I got paddled because I was getting in trouble a lot for like not putting my lock on my locker or like chewing gum in class and stuff.
Oh my god!
And then one day,
minor infractions. Yeah,
a lot of minor infractions just kind of built up to where they were just like, all right, we've had enough of this youngster
and they
here.
Paddled you?
Yeah, man, they got
fuck.
But at that point, I was so like, I was just really not happy with the school, and they called my dad, and they were like, Mr. King, we want to paddle your son if he gets in any more trouble.
Right.
And my dad's so cool, he was like, man, they called me and said that they want to paddle you. And I was like, tell him to bring it on. that was a mistake. So if Mr. Binnicker ever listens to this, you paddled me. And that sucked. But I
got paddled in 6th grade for being in a fight. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. It was the worst experience ever.
But it wasn't like, it was humiliating, but it was almost just so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, right?
It's just ridiculous. Like, shouldn't happen.
No. corporate
shouldn't happen.
No,
you know, it's just
it's
like
not
you're
like-
not my dad.
Yeah.
You're not my mom. You know,
Yeah.
like
But
anyway.
with parental consent, I guess they're still doing it down in Powdersville. That's where,
yeah.
But that's where Powdersville Middle is where I went to middle school. I don't know if it's like a faux pas to mention any teachers' names,
Well, it's nah, it's fine.
but they were really cool to me after I kind of got out of all the, you know, like growing pains and like being a rebellious child or whatever. The whole time I was still just music all the way, and I remember this principal really wanted to instill this knowledge in me, and I remember looking back right before he paddled me, and man, he looked like he had a 9-iron in his hand. He was reared back, like, and
Whoa.
got 3 licks, and went home, and my grandmother was like, I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to accept this. I'm going down there right now, and I'm going to tell them what I'm on my mind, you know?
She had your back.
She had my back, but, you know, I think it all worked out for the better. I didn't get
How do
any
you
more
pronounce
trouble.
Oma?
Oma, yeah.
Yeah, Oma had your back. Of course you would. Man, that's brutal. You're obviously influenced by people outside of other guitarists, but you're a guitar player, so you got your heroes. Who are your main guitar guys?
Oh, man, it's always been Dwayne Allman.
Do you play slide? I can't remember.
I do play slide occasionally.
I don't remember you playing slide.
I don't really play it out much.
Okay.
I've always kind of had this. I play slide. I enjoy playing slide, but I've always had this weird thing. Like, as long as Derek's out there doing it, I'm kind of like, you know. I mean, I enjoy playing slide. But,
I could see that. I could see that sort of thing.
But I kind of like to go off the whole Jimmy Herring thing. Jimmy Herring tries to play, make his guitar sound as much like he's playing with a slide bar without using one, you know. So I try to express myself that way.
Yeah.
So I don't really play slide much, but I do play pedal steel. So that's close, I guess.
Oh, you do play pedal steel?
Yeah, pedal steel was an instrument that I was always infatuated with, but I could
It's
never.
a really hard one.
Yeah, man, it's certainly a musical challenge.
Buddy Emmons just passed away.
Yeah, I heard about that, man. It really broke my heart.
Yeah.
It was one of the cats that I really wanted to meet.
Dude, he's one of the greatest instrumentals who'll ever walk the face of the earth, I think.
Have you ever dug into any of that redneck jazz explosion?
Oh, hell yeah.
Danny Gatton and Buddy
Yeah.
Evans. What?
Danny Gatton's my main guy.
Dude, Danny Gatton, man, you can't.
No,
can't beat
he's
that.
ridiculous. I've been on the Danny Gatton kick. See, I'm a bluegrass banjo player.
Oh, cool.
I played a lot of bluegrass banjo, mostly bluegrass banjo. And Danny Gatton was a banjo player, too. And so when I first heard that redneck jazz explosion, you know, it kind of like went over my head.
Yeah.
But something kept drawing me back to it. And Song of India, specifically, really pulled me in, and I had to learn that song. So I learned that song and didn't learn how Gatton was playing it. I just learned it my own way or whatever. And then I went back and started looking at Gatton's technique.
Yeah.
And, you know, he does all that roll stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very banjo-like. So I was like, oh, my God, this is what I should have been doing on guitar all along. And I've been just really hard at work on that stuff ever since.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, I'm into that stuff.
Yeah, see, like the pedal steel and like the the whole idea, like the right hand, like your fingers moving, like that had never really been incorporated into my playing because I played with a pick. See, so that's the hardest part about the pedal steel for me. And you know, all my pedal steel buddies are like,
You got to have picks.
yeah, but I don't use picks. I play with my fingers. And all my pedal steel friends are like, dude, you got to be using
Gotta
finger
have
picks.
picks.
Well, what are you doing? but I'm just like, man,
you just got to, like, put them on and sit and watch a movie with them on.
Yeah, that's what...
And then, like, just pick your guitar while you're watching a movie, and then after about 3 months, you'll be used to it.
I mean, when I sat down at the pedal steel, the E9 neck in particular, I sat down on it, and, I was able to get a sound, and, I was able to get that, like, Fire on the Mountain, some of the Toy Caldwell pedal steel kind of stuff.
Right.
And I was just, like, really, like, as soon as the first day I started playing it, I was just like, infatuation out, is an addictive instrument.
It's definitely one of the best sounding instruments.
I've always loved it, man, and I've always thought that instrument in itself, like that Buddy Emmons tune, Wild Mountain Thyme. It's not a Buddy Emmons tune, but his interpretation of it.
I gotta hear that. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's on that Buddy Emmons album. I forget the name of it, but he's just busting a rainbow out of his pedal steel. It's an awesome cover. But Wild Mountain Thyme. Yeah.
How did your band come together, and how did you guys get so tight? I mean, you guys are just like, boom, just this one focused unit. I mean, you're out front playing the lead guitar in front in the band, but, man, the whole band is just super locked in, and I was way impressed.
Well, I'll tell you, I stole them. Stole all of them.
Oh, did you?
No, man, I mean, I say that jokingly, but on a more serious tip, it's we were always constantly rotating through drummers, because me and the bass player that was on the first album, he's left the group now, but me and him, we were always rotating through drummers and keyboard players for a number of years.
Is that the bass player?
Yeah, the bass player that was on the album.
Okay.
He's left the group now, but so the way that the configuration we have now is, I went and played this 420 show, I guess 2 years ago, and saw this drummer playing with this group, and I was just like, man, who is this cat? Because he was just like laying some fire. And
what was the group?
They were called Rage On and the Cosmic Rebellion. And
it's a great name.
So Jack Ryan was on drums, and he was just this man, laying out some fire, man. And just like he plays with like the heavy-handedness of like a John Bonham, with like those single stroke rolls that are just like so fat and just like, oh my God. But he also has like the surfacey sound and like the quick hands of like a player like Mitch Mitchell or Jeff Sipe, for example. So those two combined, he's made his own sound on the drums, in my opinion. And I was like, I gotta scoop this guy up. So
how did you convince him?
I convinced him by saying, because I guess the group he was with, I don't guess they were playing many paying gigs, and he had a rent to pay. So I was like, we're playing some paying gigs, and they weren't really playing as much at all, really. So he came on board.
Man, that's lucky for you.
Yeah, and then we cut the album with him, and we brought on Alex Abercrombie at that point. And then Justin Johnson was in that same group that Jack was in, who's our trumpet and trombone player now.
Yeah, so you've got a full-time horn player.
Yeah, he's a full-time member now.
When I saw you, you didn't have a horn player.
Yeah, but he's on now.
Yeah.
Full-time.
You had keys, percussion, drum, and bass.
Yeah.
I think is what I saw.
Justin was just finishing up his college degree down at Benedict College in Columbia. He went to school for trumpet. He's the only graduate, I guess, in the band of college. But so after that, he joined full time. He's the newest member, I suppose. But we've been playing on and off for 2 years.
How often y'all rehearse?
Man, it just depends on how much we're working at the time. If we're traveling a lot, we try to get in a rehearsal at a sound check. And but if we got a little bit of time off the road, we try to do like once or twice a week, and get new material. But my buddy Vincent Crow is a really great guitar player. His playing really influences me. He's just a friend. We went to fine arts together, and really great dude. And he goes to Berkeley now. But before he left, he had a group around town called Objectify, and he had this bass player that was just like killing it. And our bass player just quit, so I was out scouting,
Nice.
looking for some bass players. And Vincent was playing, and I was like, man, this bass player's kicking. And he was kind of said something on the mic like, this is our last show because I'm moving to
You're like,
Boston. And I was just like,
holy
whoa,
shit.
hold horses. So I went up to him, and I was like, hey, man, I'm going to steal your bass player. And he was just like, he's a very
Did he know
animated
who
person.
you are?
Oh, yeah, I've known the bass player.
Okay.
I had, seen him at, various jams and stuff for years. And so he was like, he came on board, and I was like, man, I wish we've been playing together for the past 5 years because he has that much tenacity about it, too. And I was just like, man, something's really happening here. This is weird to have, other people in the band who have just as much passion and, excitement
dude,
about
and
the idea.
It shows because you are an amazing guitar player, but the support of that band is, it just raises everything up, and it just makes everybody's playing off each other, everybody's listening, and the energy is just, you can feel
That's
it.
the thing, man. Everybody's listening.
Yeah.
That's
the most important skill a musician can
Nobody's
have.
playing over each other.
Right?
It's just like me talking over you right now. If I was talking over you, music is just a conversation.
It's kind of, it's true. It's amazing how a lot of musicians fail to recognize that.
That's something Steve always taught me was music is just a conversation, and that's how you choose your phrasing. Because you breathe when you talk, don't you? If you're telling a story on your instrument, take a moment to pause, just like this, Instead of talking like this and just keep going and just shut up and you just keep talking like this, that gets old in people's ears, I think. But,
Wise words, people. Listen to Marcus King.
well,
He knows what he's talking about.
Am I wrong for holding on to what was real? Can't change your mind, can't change the way you feel. We're coming home, and we're right here for it. Can't change your mind, let your heart make the choice. Keep moving.
Well, please come back to Asheville because I need to see you
We
again
will.
there.
Yeah, we are.
What was I going to say? Western tours in the future?
Yeah, I think the springtime we're going to be doing some West Coast stuff. I know we got a lot coming up this fall. We're going to be out for a while this fall. We got some stuff in the works that I can't really mention, but very excited about. We got a label deal coming down, and ever since we started working with Hardhead Management, Evil Teen Records is re-releasing our first LP, Soul Insight, in October. And ever since we started working with Steph Scamardo, as our manager, and she's really kind of opened a lot of doors for us. And then we started working with our agents over at William Morris in Nashville. And we've just been constructing this phenomenal team, man. Everybody's just
Man, that
so
sounds like
into
you're
it,
starting
man.
to really get some pieces in place.
Yeah, man. It's really all starting to come together because everybody's always handpicked because it's we want people who have the same passion, even our team off the stage.
The band is fierce, man. I mean, a lot of bands don't get to where you guys are, in 2 years or whatever. As a band, So, you guys are, crushing it, so definitely should get out there and be playing for people all over. It sounds like you definitely you're getting your ducks in a row.
Yeah, man, that's a very important piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, it's not an easy piece
unfortunately,
either.
so as far as the business side of it is necessary evil for me because but my understanding is just the more people that come onto the team, the less that's on my plate, you know. And the more that I could just focus on music is.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir, dude. I do all my own booking, all my own press do everything.
Yeah.
It's like it's so hard. All I want to do is just sit and practice and write music.
Right.
But booking could be a full-time job.
Exactly.
In and of itself.
It is. It is a full-time job. And that's what I always was so frustrated about. It's like for a long time there, it's like you try to get a booking agent. And they're just like, well, we don't want to pick you up unless you have tour history. And then you're just like, well, we need you to help us get that tour history. So you get caught in this catch-22. But, like, the thing is, man, it's just like you got to just strive and just, like, just goes back to the whole thing about being knocked down is just our motivation. So anybody's just like, nah. We're just like, all right, well, we're going to do it ourselves, man. And we booked ourselves for a long time there and really stirred up a lot of dust in this tri-state area. And that's what got the attention of Steph. Because I got a lot of friends up in Asheville, like Rocky and...
How do you know Rocky?
I met Rocky through the Guitar Trader. I met Steven up there, and he showed Rocky the video. And Rocky is a old-time friend of Warren, and so he was like, man, I got to get your stuff to Steph. And that's Warren's wife and his manager. So,
oh, okay.
So he was like, man, I got to get your stuff to Steph.
Yeah.
And I was just like...
That's right up his alley.
Please do. So he did that, and just, you know, then they had us last minute. They booked us on the Jam by Day last year at the Christmas Jam at the One Stop. And we did a set, and they sent some people down to listen to our live stuff, and they really dug it. And I had to sit down with Stephanie and kind of felt each other's vibes. And she has the same kind of, like, work method as I do. It's like she's a firecracker, man. She's just, like, on top of it, you know, and just, like, same kind of thinking as me about the way that we work. And so it's all really happened organically with that. And Warren's really gotten behind us and kind of taken us under his wing. And that's just crazy to me, you know, growing up being such a big fan of his. And now he's really, really digging what we're doing.
That's awesome, man.
It's wild, man.
You guys deserve it. I mean, I'm constantly banging my head against the wall about music. Like, man, what is the music business all about? How do you, like, make any waves? And I always come back to the same thing. It's like, well, you've got to be really, really freaking good.
You got to be real.
You got to be, well, yeah. You have to be real, but your music has to, like, be, the bar is set high, right? Like, our musical heroes, you know.
Yeah.
The Allman Brothers and Danny Gattens and whoever else up there, man, that's really good music. And so it's like you can't like expect to impress people unless you're like getting up to levels of that quality, you know, like, and it's not easy, I don't think.
It's not necessarily like nobody's going to reinvent the wheel. I mean, except maybe cats like Rushad Eggleston. Like I heard you guys talking about him.
Yeah, that guy's out there.
Like he is basically doing like Frank Zappa on cello, and he's just a phenomenal cellist and really puts on such a great show, man. And his band Tornado Rider that he has.
Yeah, he can play bluegrass on the cello. I've seen him do it several times.
I saw this video with him and Larry Keel playing together, and he was playing like some fire bluegrass stuff on the cello.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But like then we played Soul Slam with Soul Driven Train down in Charleston Saturday, and Rushad Eggleston went on, and he does this crazy, phenomenal show, like standing on a chair with one leg playing the cello, and then like laying on his back playing the cello and doing all this crazy stuff, but singing these really intricate but silly tunes. But
that's a good way to put it.
But then he'll just sit down and he'll play this cello piece. And it's just so beautiful.
Stunning.
That'll bring a tear to your eye.
He's got it
just
all.
Like, oh my God. You know? And so that guy, just meeting him last weekend, that's opened my mind to even more craziness and just like, you know, motivates me, you know?
Yeah. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's in his own universe.
Anybody that I go to see that makes me want to go home and practice is like, I really, really dig that.
Have you ever listened to John Hartford?
No, I haven't, no.
I think you'd dig it.
Yeah.
Check it out. John Hartford. He's one of my
Hartford.
favorite musicians.
What's he play?
He's dead now, but he wrote the song "Gentle on My Mind" that was a #1 hit for Glenn Campbell. And supposedly, I don't know if this is still true, but that it's the most recorded song in the history of music. Like Aretha Franklin and what's his name? Frank Sinatra and like all these famous singers in the 70s or 60s recorded it. And he was able to take that money and he kind of like got hipped out. This is like in the late 60s. So he like got all this money and then he like grew his hair out, he grew his beard out, and he started smoking weed and he started getting really kooky. Yeah. And he was always like a great bluegrass musician, but he really, once he made that money off that song, he like really just wanted to play bluegrass. And in the same way that Rushad is like doing crazy stuff with the cello, he took bluegrass and did really crazy stuff with it. And man, it's some of the best bluegrass music to this day that I've ever heard. Like Hartford, yeah. Hartford, check him out, man.
I'm gonna do it.
I think you'll be inspired. He does this whole thing where he tap dances on a board while he plays fiddle and banjo, and he writes these crazy songs. He's a lot like Rushad, but not quite as far out as that.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, check it out. I
I
think you
will.
dig it. One last thing. We're coming up on an hour, but I wanted to ask you about your guitars. You play an SG?
Yeah, I've always
That's your
liked
main...
mini humbuckers, and I got my SG when I was playing with my dad's band. We were playing in the parking lot of a strip mall, and there was a Christian bookstore, and I went into it, and they had a bunch of guitars, and then they had this SG sitting up there, and I was just like, whoa, can I see that? And at the time, I was playing like a Epiphone Explorer, and I was like, can I play that? And I played it, and it was just like home. And it
really?
felt
just
so
like
natural.
that?
It's just, I haven't changed anything on it except for the bridge and the strings.
What year is it?
It's like a 70 or 71. And, you know, it was the first guitar that I kind of bought myself and meant, you know, still playing it. But here recently, my dad has gifted me with my grandfather's guitar, and I've been playing that a lot. It's
335.
It's a 345. It's a 58 345.
58.
It's playing that guitar, man, is like such an emotional thing, man, because like it's like my grandfather's spirit's inside that guitar for me, and plus the tones just on that guitar is just like wild. But you know, I think that's the only guitar I've ever played with like full-sized humbuckers that I really dig. Because I like mini humbuckers because it gives me that versatile sound that I want. Because that SG, man, is so wild. I can make it sound like a Strat or SG or, you know, what have you. But that 345, man, it's got some serious mojo on it.
Yeah. You switching off between the two when you play out? Yeah,
between that and, you know, and on my acoustic stuff, I play a National Biscuit Cone resonator.
Okay. I don't know if you played acoustic when I saw you.
I don't know. I don't think
so.
I think I did like
that was a real
tunes.
high energy set. What I took away from the show, you guys didn't stop. You didn't banter. It was just like, we're going to come out there and we're going to give it the gas the whole night. And I loved it because I never see that. So much in Nashville, it's like, stop the song. How's everybody doing tonight? Tell a joke now. Blah, 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 blah. You guys were like, boom, stop the song. Boom, right in the next one. And it just was like, damn.
We want our whole idea about our set is for people to leave the venue just kind of like, fuck. But that's kind of what we want.
Yeah, I like that. I was inspired. Man, those guitars sound amazing.
Thanks, brother.
And your amps that you're running here, we mentioned them before. 2 super reverbs.
Yeah, it's like a sound man's nightmare, especially like the small clubs. They get so pissed when they see me roll these 2 in. They're just like, oh my God. Because, I like to mic both of them because they got 2 different sounds coming out of them. They're like, do we have to mic both of them? For the most part, like small clubs, I don't mic them. But I use the tube screamer as a power attenuator. I keep the volume on the tube screamer at like 7, and then I crank the amps, and then kind of torture the speakers and get that natural distortion that I want out of those supers.
That's the only pedal you're running besides your wah.
Yeah.
Sick.
So, I discovered that tone when I first got the super, and then I was just like hooked.
Wow. Man, that's awesome. Cool rig.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, outstanding. Well, what's next for the band? Just constantly touring? New record coming out soon, maybe?
Yeah, the re-release of Soul Insight is something we're really excited about. We got a lot of fall dates coming up.
All over the Southland?
Yeah, man, all over the East Coast and some Midwest stuff. Hopefully some
starting to get
some
further
West
out.
Coast stuff and maybe some Canadian stuff. We don't know. We got a lot of stuff in the works right now. Everything's kind of up in the air, but we're really excited about a lot of things that are coming up.
Man, that's exciting to hear. That's awesome.
We're stoked. There's a lot of big surprises that are coming
Man,
in the next couple months. We're excited.
Well, if people have heard your music, because I'm going to intersperse your music through the interview.
Cool.
So, yeah. Definitely got to go to, what is it, MarcusKingBand.com?
MarcusKingBand.com.
Yeah, and I'll say it again after we finish this. I do a little outro, but Marcus, I think that's about all we got time for today. But man, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here.
Excellent. All right, man. Be safe.
All right, cheers.
Well, are you a fan yet? Marcus King. What an awesome guy. He is such a great musician. He is already in a stratospheric level of musicianship at the very young age of 19 years old. So please go check out his music at MarcusKingBand.com. Hopefully we're just hearing the beginning of Marcus's musical journey, and he will have much more to put out in the future. As always, you can follow us at The Perfect Note Podcast on Facebook, across all social media, on Twitter and Instagram. That's The Perfect Note Podcast. You can also follow my music at bradleycarter.net. And the music you're listening to now is the music of Buddy Emmons that we talked about during the show, The Wild Mountain Time. And of course, rest in peace, Billy Constable. And until next time, play what's on your heart.